Welcome to Pathfinders, a hiking podcast with Brian. Today's episode is how to choose hiking shoes for bad knees, and we're going to make every minute practical. I'm Brian Hudson, your trail nerd and moderator, and I'm excited because I get to introduce my friend in the hiking performance world, Caitlin Carr, physio, trail coach, and shoe-fitting specialist. We'll break down what knee-friendly footwear really means, the right mix of cushioning, stability, traction, and fit that helps you feel confident on climbs and especially descents. Whether you're rebuilding from flare-ups or logging big alpine days, the goal is less pain and more flow. Stick around for our actionable tip of the episode, a quick in-store test you can do today to pick the better pair.
Thanks, Brian, and hello, trail friends. I'm a trail performance coach, and I've helped a lot of hikers dial in footwear to calm cranky knees. Here's the big idea. Every knee is different, but shoes can reduce the forces that irritate them. We want to soften impact, smooth your stride, and keep the knee tracking over the foot when the ground gets weird. That means matching features to your situation. If kneecap pain flares with stairs or long downs, look for more cushioning and a 4-foot rocker to reduce breaking. If you've got medial osteoarthritis or a history of meniscus issues, a stable platform and sometimes a clinician-guided lateral wedge can unload the inside of the knee. If your outer knee and IT bend bark on slanted or loose trails, a neutral, well-gripping shoe that keeps you centered is key.
Love how you split that by knee pattern. Super actionable. I also appreciate the nuance around lateral wedges being clinician-guided. That's not a DIY tweak. Let's go one level upstream. Foot mechanics. A lot of listeners wonder if their arches or width matter as much as marketing claims. When someone walks into a shop, what's the quick assessment you'd have them do to understand arch height, width, and whether they're over or under pronating? And how should that translate to picking a last shape and support level? For example, when would you steer someone toward a straight last, broader base with a supportive insole versus a more flexible, neutral shoe with a roomy toe box? And can folks trust the classic wet test at home, or should they always seek a gait assessment on a treadmill in a specialty store?
Start simple at home, then refine in-store. The wet test is still useful. A full footprint suggests a lower arch and likely more pronation. A narrow band between heel and forefoot suggests a higher arch and less pronation. Pair that with a measurement of width and volume. Many hikers need wide or high-volume shoes and don't realize it. In-store, a short treadmill or ramp walk reveals whether your knee tracks over the second toe or collapses inward. If you pronate heavily and the knee dives medially, try a straight or semi-curved last with a broad base, firm heel counter, and a supportive insole. If you're neutral or supinate, a neutral shoe with a roomy toe box and gentle sidewall wrap usually feels better. The key is comfort plus alignment. Avoid aggressive posts that overcorrect, and always test with your hiking socks and any orthotics you already use.
That idea of comfort plus alignment resonates because the best support is the one you'll actually wear all day. Let's move to cushioning and rocker shapes, since descents are where knees often hurt. Listeners hear EVA, PU, stack height, rockers, and heel-to-toe drop thrown around. For someone with sensitive knees, what midsoles and geometries actually help reduce impact and breaking? How much stack is useful before things feel tippy? And where does a 4-foot rocker shine? Also, drop can be confusing. Many of us hike in 4mm or less because it feels natural and stable, but I've heard you recommend 6 to 10mm for folks with knee pain on the downhills. What's the reasoning there, and who should stick with low or zero drop only if they're already adapted to it?
Two things tend to help sore knees on downs: resilient cushioning and geometry that reduces breaking. Look for EVA PU blends, or high rebound EVA that compresses without bottoming out, and a higher stack that still feels planted. Think enough foam to take the edge off, not pogo stick tall. A gentle rocker, especially through the forefoot, smooths the rollovers so you're not jamming the knee with every step. On drop, 6-tire 10mm often shifts a bit of load away from the knee and shortens the calf Achilles slightly, which can make controlled descents feel easier. If you're well adapted to low or zero drop and your calves and hamstrings are happy, stay there. Changing drop abruptly can stress tissues. But if downhills hurt, trial a moderate drop on a ramp and note knee comfort. The sweet spot is cushion plus control, not max cushion at all costs.
That cushion plus control line is gold. because I've definitely felt wobbly in marshmallow shoes on side hills. Let's unpack what control really means in a hiking shoe. When you evaluate stability, what components matter most? I've heard you talk about firm heel counters, torsional stiffness, a midfoot shank or rock plate, a broad platform, and even sidewall wrap that hugs the foot. Could you walk us through how each of those helps keep the knee tracking over the foot, especially when the trail tilts or the surface is loose? And while we're at it, how do you balance that with fit fundamentals? The thumb's width in front of the toes, secure heel with no slip, correct width and volume, so people don't trade stability for numb toes or toe bang on the descent.
Stability starts at the rear foot. A firm heel counter anchors the calcaneus so the foot doesn't yaw inside the shoe, which keeps the tibia and knee from drifting. Next is torsional stiffness. When you twist the shoe, moderate resistance prevents the midfoot from collapsing on uneven surfaces. A midfoot shank or rock plate adds that stiffness and also shields from sharp rocks so you don't tense up and overbrace at the knee. A broad platform widens your base of support, and subtle sidewall wrap or rails guide the foot without squeezing it. Fit ties it together. Aim for a half to one thumb's width up front so toes can splay and avoid toe bang, and lock the heel with a snug back end and a runner's loop. Choose the right width and volume, standard, wide, or high volume, and test with your hiking socks and orthotics to confirm nothing pinches.
That runner's loop has saved more toenails than I can count. Before we jump to footwear categories, let's stay with fit for a second. Lacing can be magic for pressure points. Could you outline a couple quick patterns, like window lacing over a sore instep or adjusting zones for uphill versus downhill? Then, zooming out, trail runners versus boots. Many hikers assume mids automatically protect knees because they cover the ankle, but I've heard you say lighter shoes often reduce knee load by cutting fatigue. When should someone pick a lighter trail runner? And when does a mid-cut or burlier boot make sense? Say, with a heavier pack, rocky alpine mileage, or lots of talus. And how do you explain that mids add proprioception at the ankle, but don't directly stabilize the knee itself?
2 quick lacing tweaks. Window lacing skips, eyelets over a hot spot on the instep, unlace down to the pressure zone, run the lace up the outside of that eyelet without crossing, then resume normal lacing above to create a window. For toe bang or heel slip, use a runner's loop at the top eyelets and tighten only the upper third, leaving the forefoot comfortably loose. You can also loosen the forefoot for uphill and snug the top for downhill to control sliding. On footwear types, lighter shoes often reduce knee load because each step costs less energy. Your hips and quads stay fresher, so you don't collapse into the joint late in the day. I like trail runners for well-maintained or moderately rocky trails and day hikes with lighter packs. Mid-cuts or supportive light boots shine with heavier loads, off-trail side hilling, long talus, or when you want extra ankle feedback.
Great breakdown, and I like the idea of tightening only the upper third for descents. Let's talk underfoot grip and protection. On loose marbles, wet roots, or sharp granite, I've noticed that deeper, grippier lugs and a rock plate make me trust each step, which seems to quiet my knees. What should hikers look for in outsole patterns and rubber compounds, and how does a rock plate help reduce that protective bracing at the knee? Then the forever debate, waterproof versus breathable. Waterproof membranes add warmth and a touch of stiffness, which can be nice in cold slop, but miserable in heat. How do you guide people by climate and trip type, especially if swelling tends to aggravate their knees? Any tips for keeping breathability while still managing wet conditions?
Outsoles that bite reduce the microslides that make you tense up. Look for 4 to 5 millimeter lugs with varied shapes, chevrons for braking on descents, lateral edges for side hill grip, and a sticky rubber compound if your terrain is wet rock or roots. A 4-foot rock plate or flexible composite layer spreads out point loads and keeps the shoe from folding over sharp edges, so your quads don't guard and the knee stays quieter. Waterproofing is about context. Membranes add warmth and a bit of structure. That can feel supportive in cold, wet seasons, but in heat they trap moisture and can worsen swelling, which sensitive knees don't love. In hot, dry climates, choose breathable mesh and manage water with drainable shoes and quick-dry socks. In prolonged wet or cold, use waterproof, but consider sizing to accommodate thicker socks and be mindful of drying time between days.
I like that terrain-specific view of rubber and lugs. It's the difference between skating and sticking. Let's match shoes to hiking style. If someone carries a heavier pack, spends time on rocky alpine routes, or hits big vertical with long descents, how should they tune cushioning, stability, and traction versus someone doing smoother day hikes? And when they're ready to shop, what's the best way to try before buying? I love the idea of testing on a ramp or stairs with a weighted pack and using return policies to evaluate on real trails. Finally, models. Fit varies wildly, but could you offer a few well-regarded starting points? Say, max cushion with rocker, stable platforms, roomy toe boxes, supportive insoles, and wider fits, so listeners have a short list to explore with their own feet.
For heavier packs, rocky alpine, and lots of down, prioritize resilient cushioning, a stable platform with torsional stiffness and aggressive traction. Think max or high stack with a rocker, firm heel counter, shank or rock plate, and deeper lugs. For smoother day hikes, you can go lighter and more flexible to keep cadence high and fatigue low. Try before you buy. Bring your hiking socks, any insoles, and wear or load a pack to 10 to 15% of body weight. Walk inclines or stairs and compare models back to back. Use those 30 to 60-day trail guarantees when available. Starting models to sample. Fit varies, Hoka Speedgoat, or Anacapa for max cushion and rocker. Topo Athletic Trail Venture 2 for a roomy toe box with moderate drop. Oboz Bridger for support and a quality insole. Salomon X Ultra 4 for a stable platform. Brooks Cascadia for trail stability. Keen Targi for a wide fit. Ultra Olympus for max cushion with zero drop if you're already adapted. Add supportive aftermarket insoles if needed and ensure shoe volume accommodates them.
That short list alone can save folks hours of scrolling. Let's lock in the shopping process with your actionable tip of the episode. You've taught our listeners a quick in-store protocol that simulates downhill stress so the knees react with real data. Can you lay out that 10-minute downhill fit test step by step? Exactly what to bring, how to lace, how to descend, and how to score pain so the better shoe is obvious? After the purchase, how should hikers break in and proceed, especially if they've changed drop or stack? And what are the red flags that it's time to replace? Finally, complementary aids. How can trekking poles, shorter downhill steps with higher cadence, and some basic hip glute strengthening change knee loading even before the shoe choice is perfect?
Here's the 10-minute downhill fit test. Bring hiking socks, any insoles, dock, orthotics, and a pack loaded to 10 to 15% body weight. Lace a runner's loop. On a store ramp or stairs, do 3 30-second controlled descents per shoe. Rate knee discomfort, 0-10 before and after. Choose the pair with at least a 2-point lower pain score and no toe bang. If tied, pick the lighter, more stable-feeling shoe. Break in with 2 to 3 short hikes before big vert, especially if drop changed. Replace near 300-500 miles or when midsoles crease and don't rebound, traction fades, or new aches appear. Use poles, shorter steps, higher cadence downhill, and hip glute strengthening.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. That's a wrap. Today we decoded knee patterns, foot mechanics, cushioning and drop, the stability checklist, lacing fixes, traction and waterproof choices, trail runners versus boots, smart shopping, and a fast downhill fit test. Use the tip, trust your knees, and hike farther with less pain. Thanks for listening today.